Okay, I'm gonna make a happier video this time. That one was a little depressing. That's why I got my two sons right here, grinning and cheesing. We'll get through this together. What's up, guys? It's your boy Crystal's here, and today starts the first part of our ongoing series slash mini-series, what anthology, whatever you want to call it. This is going to be our Road to the Oscars 2025. Basically, I'm going to cover each and every single film that was nominated for Best Picture this year, starting with The Brutalist. So yeah, this will be a 10-part series since there are 10 films that have been nominated for Best Picture, as is how they've done it for the last few years or so. I'm starting with The Brutalist because I told you guys I would do a review or some kind of review for the movie about a week or two ago, and now I'm finally going to start doing it. And the last one is going to be for I'm Still Here, since I haven't seen it yet. But the rest of them, parts 2 through 9, are going to be in an order that my girlfriend actually selected for me. So thank you, sweetheart. I appreciate everything you do for me. Anyhow, with that out of the way, I'm going to start covering what is the longest and most ambitious of all the films nominated for Best Picture this year, The Brutalist. The Brutalist is one of the latest films released under the A24 umbrella, directed by Brady Corbet. I can't say I've personally watched a whole lot of Corbet's work. I'm familiar with movies that he did, like The Childhood of a Leader, as well as Vox Lux. But I still have yet to watch them, but that's on the agenda at some point. But it is kind of needless to say that The Brutalist is certainly his breakout film in terms of his filmography. And what a breakout he has had. This is a 3.5 hour long post-Holocaust epic drama, whatever you want to call it. It's certainly something else, and very much unlike a majority of releases that came out in recent years. I was a little concerned about going into this movie not knowing very much about Corbet's work. Is it Corbet or Corbet? We'll roll with one, and then the comments will correct me later. But I also found it an opportunity to once again open my perception and my worldview to what he has been a part of in the past as well. Add to that the hype around this film that A24 placed on it with a really good teaser trailer, and the fact that A24 pulled an A24 and severely limited the show times for this movie, to the point where, despite the fact it came out in December the 20th, I was not able to see it until January the 16th or something like that. But like I mentioned in my A24 distribution video, it's kind of hard to argue against something when it works. I mean, obviously, I think all films should receive a wider release, not just nationally, but also internationally, because a movie like Nickel Boys, which is another Best Picture nominee, is not seen by very many people considering how limited the show times is. And people that live outside of the country might not be able to experience it until much later, since there probably isn't any showings for it anywhere, and maybe digital might be a little too difficult to get your hands on, well, legally anyway. In addition to that, and I do want to point this out real quick, it was revealed that the film uses just a little bit of artificial intelligence. It was alleged that they used artificial intelligence to generate models of things that either the main character Laszlo Toth built, or models of design plans or what have you, but that was not confirmed, I think. It was also used to apparently enhance vowels spoken by Adrian Brody and Felicity Jones when they're using Hungarian. Apparently, in their defense, The Hungarian language is very difficult to speak if you're not already a native speaker. So they were at a crossroads and they made a decision, and here we are. I haven't fully decided how I feel about it. Obviously, AI nowadays is kind of a scary term, but it sounds like the AI didn't really do much of anything to change the acting or enhance like the acting in any way. Enhance maybe the pronunciation of Hungarian words, but not necessarily anything that Adrian Brody and Felicity Jones are doing specifically. So the discussion about AI will just have to wait for another video. That being said, if you are super anti-AI, just a warning for you. So yeah, with everything about the distribution in the air, everything about the use of AI and whatnot, there's a lot of talk and discourse about the film, but eventually I was able to see it so I can form my own opinion about what it is was created. And I gotta say, it definitely was excellent. It definitely knocked it out of the park, and everything that it's been nominated for, it certainly did deserve. Even if the second half of the film, and especially that epilogue, kind of really threw a curveball that I wasn't all that ready for, and kind of sours my enjoyment of the film just a little bit. Just to get this out of the way, the first part of the movie was excellent. It's some of the best film I watched all last year. The film serves as an allegory, so not only is it a literal tale about the immigration experience, but also a figurative, but not all the way figurative tale about patron and artist. So on the one hand, it's pretty cut and dry. Adrian Brody is a Hungarian Jew separated from his wife and niece during the Holocaust, making his way to America, kind of finding himself crawling out of one hole only to find himself in another. He makes it to America expecting a better life. He is betrayed by his cousin and his wife upon getting there, and he's shoveling coal for a little bit, but he gets the opportunity to work with Guy Pearce's character, Harrison Lee Van Buren. And things start looking up for him in so many ways, and then in the second part, it just dwindles downward. So yeah, in the literal sense, you have Laszlo Toth, the former architect, going to America and just shoveling coal for a living at some point. But also you end up having the figurative interpretation of the film where he, the artist, rejected by the patron, ends up going to America and finding a new patron who ends up abusing and appropriating his work. Since not only can the patron just do that, Van Buren in particular, on numerous occasions, demonstrates his jealousy about Laszlo as an artiste. Van Buren himself just being a businessman, and everything that he believes in and everything that he feels is super superficial. But I'll get into more of that when I talk about part 2. But part 1 definitely builds this up extraordinarily well. Like, I remember getting to intermission thinking, oh my god, am I about to watch the best film of the year? I'm excited. Because not only did I find the story super engaging despite its length, even in the second part, just everything about it in terms of technicality is also there too. The directing was great. I loved the cinematography, and I really loved the score. In the case of the cinematography, there's like just so many great shots, especially the one where there's that hill where Van Buren and his family are all climbing up it to announce that he's going to start having Laszlo Toth be the architect for his foundation that he wants to do. And the score is really interesting. It takes a lot of the styles of the music from that era and adds kind of a warped, kind of paranoid feeling to it to kind of take Laszlo Toth's heroin addiction as well as his paranoia of his situation and kind of putting that to music. The score is just so varied and so solid and well executed that it wouldn't surprise me if it wins Best Original Score, even though the real Best Original Score winner was snubbed, but that's a video for another time. Just everything that the film throws at you at around this point is just so engaging and so heart-wrenchingly beautiful, and you feel really bad for Laszlo Toth. And on that subject, Adrien Brody, fantastic as Laszlo. Fantastic. I don't know what it is about him portraying Holocaust survivors, but he just does a great job at them, as morbid of a comment that is. You see a very practical man that just lives for his art. He wants to survive and live for his family, who are at this point in the film separated from him. Brody just does an excellent job displaying the whole range and all the different dimensions of Laszlo Toth that he demonstrates throughout the movie. In addition to that, Guy Pearce also does a great job as Van Buren, just displaying, again, a brutish, superficial fella that will do and say whatever he wants because he feels untouchable. So then part 1 ends, and then we have part 2, which also great, just has a lot of twists and turns and grooves that I found kind of immersion breaking at points. Like, obviously everything that I praised about the first part, the score, cinematography, directing, etc., is still there, and you get to see a lot more of Felicity Jones' part as Elizabeth Toth, Laszlo Toth's wife. We are given the perspective of someone that is handicapped physically and might not be emotionally all there, considering that all the surviving and the horrors of Europe and the Holocaust she had to endure either in a different way or endure a bit longer than Laszlo did. And she also just does a great job at being Laszlo's rock in so many ways, even when there are points where in Laszlo's deranged opiate ramblings and his obsession with trying to get the architecture built for Van Buren, as well as what Van Buren does to Laszlo in the film, at the end of the day, she still sticks by him, even when Adrian gives Elizabeth heroin and nearly kills her in an overdose. All the way up to the very end where she stands up for him. Literally stands up for him. It's just so poetic that around this point of part 2, you see her finally stand up, only just for her to be knocked down immediately. But yeah, part 2, while great, definitely felt incohesive at points, which may have been the intention given the fact that, again, Laszlo ends up going crazy and just slowly devolving in his mental because of the heroin, because of, I don't know how to put this, assault, and just all the pressure that Van Buren just ends up putting on him, as well as Van Buren kind of doing some shady dealings with other people that for some reason get involved with the project. It's around part 2 where, in just so many ways in terms of the story, the length kind of rears its ugly head in so many ways. And then after part 2, there's this weird epilogue that is just so tonally different from the rest of the film that I almost think that maybe the film could have gone without it completely. Like, I'm not sure how you conclude the way part 2 does without the epilogue, but at the same time, there was just something different they could have done. Maybe it doesn't completely make you want a refund or your money back or what have you, but at the same time, it's noticeable and a clear problem with the movie. But yeah, apart from that, I give this 2 thumbs up. I give the second thumb a little hesitantly because of the ending and how part 2 just felt so vastly different from part 1. But yeah, not knowing so much of Corbet's work kind of leads me to believe that this might have been intentional, because you got this bold, uplifting part 1, and then part 2, it just kind of just zigzags downward for poor Laszlo Toth. And then we're just left with this epilogue that makes me feel like after Toth has been abused and broken down and at points beaten, now we're left with this epilogue where 20 years later, where he's kind of just old and kind of a shell of himself, all of his work has been misinterpreted to the point where maybe it's supposed to leave a sour taste in your mouth afterwards. And if that is the intention of what they try to go for, I am a bit at odds with it, but I suppose it was done solidly to the point where it didn't ruin the film for me. But yeah, as I mentioned, 2 thumbs up for The Brutalist. If you haven't seen it yet, and if you're able to, I definitely recommend it. I definitely would like to see, in lieu of certain films not getting nominated for things that they shouldn't have been nominated, as well as the categories that The Brutalist is nominated for, I definitely will be rooting for The Brutalist come Oscar season. Anyhow, if you were able to catch The Brutalist, what did you think of it? Did you like The Brutalist? Did you dislike The Brutalist? And yeah, that's about it. Part 2 is going to be Wicked, so stay tuned for that one. This is your boy Chrysalis here, signing off.